Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ravenflight channel. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video. If you have any suggestions, requests, comments on the video, just, there's a whole section for that. It's called the comment section. Go leave one. I know this video is late, and it definitely is, but I had COVID. I've been completely out of commission for about a week and a half, but I'm feeling better now, so I'm going to be starting to make content again. The same kind of content that I've been doing, talking about events and predictions and conclusions that be drawn and stuff like that, but also more reactive stuff, like if there's a big upset or a huge result, or if there's a transfer or a player got benched or something like that, I'll talk about that. And I'm also going to be making more in-depth and analytical content, kind of structured as, deep dives, exploring what really makes the game tick, what affects winning, who has been the most influential players in this sort of environment, etc., that kind of stuff. Stuff that I'm really excited about just because I love going into depth, doing a lot of research about stuff, and then sharing it. So that's what the future of the channel is looking like for now, especially now that I'm feeling better. I can get back to making content. Like I said, Katowice. This may just look like me waffling, but that's just because I'm a week late. Most of everybody already knows what happened and some of the implications, but I still wanted to get the video out there because I had it planned, and then I died. Now, I quickly just want to go over my predictions, what I had predicted for the event, and what the outcomes were. I did pretty freaking well for myself with these predictions. The only result I got wrong was Vitality and Liquid, and that's because I didn't see Vitality falling apart the way they did, and I didn't see Liquid, of all teams, the kings of the choke, be able to pull off what they did. If you have not watched that match, just Overpass, really, go and do it. It might take an hour and a half, but it'll be freaking worth it. It was a 13-2 first half for Vitality that they choked the hell out of. And it's sure Liquid made a CT comeback on Overpass, but 13-2. It doesn't matter how CT-sided that map is. 13-2. That doesn't happen every day, especially not with a team whose reputation is what Liquid's is. So that was pretty stupendous. And honestly, Vitality should have won that series 2-0, but they didn't. I'm not even mad about it with my predictions. Watching that match was incredible, and it made the NA hopium so real. And moving forward with Liquid, it's very, very exciting. Moving forward with Vitality, though, how long until they blow it up? Do we want to take bets? Do we want to talk about this? Like, they're going to hold on to Spinks and Zywoo. I don't have any doubts about that. They might hold on to Magisk, but how long until they drop Dupree and Apex? And maybe even Zonic. Their calling was awful, and it was all highlighted in that Overpass map, because overall it has been. They've been carried by CT sides, but good lord, that T side on Overpass was dog. It was so bad. Nobody looked like they wanted to go and take fights and take initiative and make something happen. At some point, Apex should have just said, okay, Spink, Zywoo, go kill. That's how it went around. Instead, they tried to do all sorts of crap and have Zywoo on the other side of the map from an execute, which made no sense at all. So, Vitality, I've got concerns. Liquid, I've got hope. Moving on, though, I predicted correctly that Na'Vi would beat Outsiders in that other quarterfinal. I kind of went the way I expected it to, really. It was just kind of boring to watch just because of how Outsiders play and how Na'Vi play against Outsiders. Significantly less exciting than Complexity's match against Outsiders, I'll tell you that. Now, in the semifinals, I had originally predicted G2 versus Vitality because I had Vitality winning, but G2 still beat Liquid, so I'll take that as a win, and Heroic beat Na'Vi as I had predicted. And then in the grand final, as we all know, G2 came out on top, 3-1 against Heroic in pretty dominant fashion, except for Inferno, and one part of Mirage. G2 came out of this event. They look incredible. I don't think there's any argument to be had for any other team as to being the best team in the world. I think that's pretty solidly G2's at this point. My last video, I talked about, is it Heroic? Is it G2 after Katowice? Well, no, we know. It's G2. G2 right now, incredible. Heroic, we're really strong as well, but G2 were just better. I mentioned that the only times that Heroic did look like the better team were on Inferno, which they won, as they should have, considering how they played, and on part of Mirage, which I think Heroic kind of choked a little bit because they looked like the much better team, but G2 were just winning rounds that they never should have won. I wanted to give a little shout out to who I think was the MVP of the tournament. I know Hunter was the official MVP of the tournament, mostly for his performance in the finals, which he completely earned. I would never take that away from him. But personally, for me, it was always between JKS and Yabik, and considering A, who won the tournament, and B, that Yabi kind of fell off in the finals, it had to be JKS for me. He was incredible throughout the tournament and was really, really solid in the finals. And like I said, I will never take that away from Hunter, but for me, JKS all the way 100%. Now, to talk a little bit more about G2, they have only lost one map this year, which is crazy. Like, they only lost one map at this event. They only lost one map this year. This is like an era-setting team going forward. There is no G2 era yet. I don't want that. I don't want my words to be misconstrued. I'm biased, but I'm not that biased. There is no G2 era yet. They've won Katowice. They've won Blast World Finals. Blast World Finals is kind of like a ooh yay event. Like, doesn't really mean a lot to a lot of people in the grand scheme of things, but Katowice is huge. And now we're going into the major and a string of IEM events, which are all pretty big. So I'm really, really excited for what G2 are going to be bringing to a lot of these. They went undefeated in Katowice, aside from, at least as pertains to matches. They only lost the one map, like I said. And speaking of maps, they have a pretty well stress-tested map pool. The only map they didn't play was Vertigo, which is fine, I think, considering what Hunter and Monacy can do on that map, and then just the potential Nico has to click heads wherever he is. I think that's really a really positive sign for G2, considering that a big problem with their previous rosters and lineups was their map pool. They never had a really deep map pool. They were always good on like one or two maps, being Inferno and Mirage. But aside from that, it was kind of They've really shown strength on several maps. They played Anubis twice, won it both times, which was the only map that I had real concern about going into this. They beat FaZe on Ancient, and they beat Heroic on Ancient, and you know, their Nuke and Inferno streaks, until their Inferno streak was broken, obviously, in the finals, are insane. They're still a really strong Mirage team, just because, I mean, it's just an FPL map, dude. Like, you take Monacy and you take Nico, and you just tell them to play a map they've been playing for 70% of their lives. So I don't really know what to tell you. It's incredible to see that they have a map pool like this that they can really lean on. And I think the biggest thing is that they're not leaning on an individual. All of the other previous G2 rosters since he joined were intrinsically tied to Nico succeeding. He needed to overperform individually for the team to have any kind of result. You think of Stockholm almost 2 years ago now. That's crazy. He had like a 1.4 rating or something up until the finals, and that's the only reason they got there. And a whole streak of events as well, including Katowice and Cologne that year and the next. Like, the only reason they got as deep as they did is because Nico was popping the hell off. And it wasn't a good formula. But they've corrected it. You've now got 4 players all hovering around a 1.2 rating, something like that, a little bit above, a little bit below. And then Hooksy, who is, you know, they don't need him to frag. But you've got 4 players who are all hovering around there, all really performing well. And that is the formula for success. That's how FaZe succeeded last year. And G2 have drawn a lot of comparisons from me, as well as from other players and pundits. G2 have drawn a lot of comparisons to that FaZe team, the way they're structured and the way they're winning and the way that they are proving their own talent and success. From here, G2 are absolutely the favorites for Pro League. Moving past that, depends on how they perform at Pro League, but things are looking really positive for the major. They just qualified for the RMR today. And if they continue this streak, I'm not sure there's anybody bar Heroic who can really stand up and do anything to them. What other team is gonna take a map off them? The only other, the last team before Heroic today to take a map off of them for Vitality at the end of last year. And that is not the same Vitality team that we have here. This Vitality team that we have here today is on the verge of implosion, how I see it anyway. For Pro League, just as an early prediction, I could absolutely see a Heroic G2 final again, you know, barring some weird upset or them just getting matched up somewhere else in the playoffs. But those are the two strongest teams in the world right now. Heroic are definitely number 2, but they're the only team that can say that they've drawn blood on G2, like really drawn blood. Like, other teams have kind of stood up to them on maps and proved a challenge in some aspects, but no other team has taken a map this year. And I think that's something Heroic, they won't hold on to it because they don't want to, nobody wants to be number 2. They're not going to be like, oh yeah, we took a map off of number 1, but they'll use that as a kind of sign of, we can do that. We can be number 1. We can push ourselves further, and that's really exciting. Really, for Pro League, I'm looking at G2, I'm looking at Heroic. If Na'Vi can continue this kind of upward trend that they were on, I think they have a few words to put in there as well. I think Liquid definitely do. I wouldn't bar Vitality from playoff conversations, but I also wouldn't bet on them right now. So that's just how I see things coming out of Katowice. Like I said, I'm going to be putting out content more consistently now that I'm feeling a lot better. I'm really excited for the videos and the content that I have planned, at least for the next month or so, and I hope you guys are too. And I hope you guys are as excited as I am for the future of the competitive Counter-Strike scene. I think this is going to be an excellent year, just how this is proving. But anyway, leave a like on the video. Be sure to subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.